their children are dealing with right now. You just feel the frustration as a result of Common Core. Okay, every parent's hand goes up. Now, that's one thing, the frustration. What about time spent on homework? And I mean time, by the way, without necessarily seeing an improvement. Are you seeing an increase in the time spent on these assignments because of Common Core without necessarily feeling like there's an increase in mastery of the subject? More time. If more time, raise your hand. All right, everybody's also saying more time. Do you get the sense also, if yes, raise your hand, do you get the sense that Common Core is experimenting a bit with your kids' education? This is unproven, and because it's experimenting with education, okay, it is also experimenting with the future. Kids, hey, guys, now it's your turn. We're going to have some fun. Give me a quick raise of hands for each. Same thing your parents did, same idea. How many of you think Common Core is confusing for no particularly good reason? It's just confusing. Pretty much. Oh, we got every hand up. All right. Now, what about fun? Learning is supposed to be entertaining. It's supposed to bring you into the process. Raise your hand for me if Common Core. Raise your hand for me if Common Core makes you want to read more, learn more history, do more math. What? No? Not a single hand. Okay, well, this brings me down to some other issues. I want to ask you about some special cases, and I want to hear from all of you. First, we have Amber Papadopoulos. Now, you have a daughter, Alexis. You're involved with the Catholic school system. Tell me what it means for you that Common Core is now a part of even the Catholic system. You look for something outside of the traditional public school system. What does Common Core mean for Alexis and for her education?
Well, as a Catholic, tradition is important to us. And now that Common Core is in Catholic schools, we are paying for education twice. Once for school tax and one for Catholic schools. We didn't ask for this. It was kind of thrust upon us. And we really have no recourse to get it out of our schools. If we are going to be paying twice for education, for our kids' education, with no recourse.
You feel like you should have more. You've sought out choice. You're paying, as you said, you're outside the system, and this is being foisted upon you as well in the Catholic system. Alexis, Common Core, no fun, right? Not good? Not liking it? No, I didn't think so. All right, well, let's ask about homeschooling. Michael, I know that you have chosen now to put your son, Dan, in a homeschooling situation coming up. I wanted to hear from you. Why is that?
We lost our faith in public education over the course of a year of experience in the Common Core. The love of reading and the close reading that was pushed upon the kids, repetitive reading over and over and over, and then my kids started backing off of their leisure reading, which really concerned my wife and I. And then the math homework came home. The grades started nosediving 20% from the previous year. We knew something was tremendously wrong. We started looking into it, did our homework, refused the state tests, and we made a decision, my wife and I, to take my son Dan, who's getting ready to go into third grade, and his brother Joe, who was 11, getting ready to go into sixth grade, and we're going to homeschool them this coming year for the first time ever.
Dan, you looking forward to that? You excited to try homeschooling? All right, good. You'll have to let us know how all of that is going. I always kind of wish that I could have stayed at home and had my parents help me more with stuff. But Rachel, you are a special education educator. You're a special ed teacher.
Yes.
So you have a very particular familiarity with how Common Core... Well, let me just ask you the question this way. What does Common Core do for special needs students?
Not a whole lot. It confuses them. It talks about differentiation of instruction, but it requires them to give one method, which is exactly the opposite of that. It does not differentiate. It doesn't teach towards how children learn. Every child learns differently, and with special education, you need to be able to take that and help them learn the way that they need to learn. Common Core does not allow for that.
And Brandon, this is now taking you, just with your schoolwork, it's more time, right?
Yeah.
This is a more time. Why is it? Why does it take you more time to do your Common Core work?
Well, it takes me more time because, I used to be able to do my homework in like a half an hour, all of it. Now it takes me maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours to do it all because, you see, they make you do the homework their way. There's no other way. You have to do it their way, and their way just takes you loops around the homework to find the answer.
Do you feel like when you do it their way, you're learning more? Or do you feel like, hey, man, I want to go hang out with my friends or do something else. I want to get my work done. Enough is enough.
Yeah, I feel like...
Yeah, okay. I'll take the yeah, absolutely. Valerie, on this notion of how long it takes to do some of this work and what's involved, now I asked you this before, you're not a rocket scientist, but you are somebody of a science background, somebody that has a particular expertise in numbers and in the scientific fields. And sometimes when you're helping your daughter Julia on math, and you've brought in some other family members with very impressive math credentials, which, by the way, I think is amazing because I am terrible at math, you actually say that it's a struggle even for people with exceptional math backgrounds who are adults.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the mathematics that's difficult, and I hate the term more rigorous. It's the fact that the word problems especially are so convoluted that it's very difficult to ascertain exactly what is expected and what they're looking for.
Julie, do you ever go to your teacher and say, well, you know, my mom's almost a rocket scientist, and she's a different kind of scientist, and she says this is hard, so what do you expect from me? What do you think of the math work that you have to do?
It's a little bit harder, I will say, because there's so many different methods, and on tests you're only allowed to use one method. So what's the point of learning all those different methods if you're only
So you
allowed
have to
use
learn
one?
different approaches to the math problem, different kinds of
Yes,
ways to solve the problem.
different methods.
So you learn these different ways, but then on the test they actually only want one method?
Yeah,
I hope they
if you
at least tell
haven't mastered it, then you're out of luck.
Yeah, then you're out of luck. Wow.
Yes.
Well, at least you have a family that can help you with this. You've got a bunch
Yes.
of people
Theoretically.
that are ready to send them in the moon. Hopefully they can help you with your homework at home. Kira, I know I was talking to you and your mom before we came on the show here. You give presentations on why you don't like Common Core. I asked you, what's your top three? What's your top three why Common Core just not getting it done?
I talk a lot about a lot of different things, but the main one thing that I talk about is college and career readiness. It's because I'm in a special program that they made in my area, at my college, at my community college, for kids about my age, middle school, high school. They allow us to go and take classes from professors. And so I take algebra at college one night a week. And I have a 4.0 in that. And then in school, I got a 94 and a 95 in my finals, but my Common Core final, I got an 81. And that was graded on a curve. So the original grade was probably closer to a 69, and that's not right. I don't think that's fair, and I don't think it's college and career readiness.
Well, you've got a superstar over here telling me that Common Core is dropping her average, apart from the fact that I'm sure that one you didn't want to put in the fridge and it's not fair because your other ones you're doing such a great job with. What are the biggest problems that you see with somebody obviously very in an accelerated program, very much up on her work? What are the problems that Common Core poses for somebody who's an exceptional student?
Well, there's a variety of programs. For one thing, there's the self-esteem issue from the grades. When you look at her grades, her college grades are excellent, her school grades are excellent, and then she gets her Common Core results and they're lousy. And tell me that that's an accurate representation of her understanding of algebra. It's clearly not, and yet it has an impact on the student. There's also, quite frankly, the boredom factor. Common Core has a single pace. It works at one speed. And if you don't go at that speed, well, you're surely out of luck, whether you're on one end or the other. It makes her hate the subject that she does the best at.
Yeah. I'm still terrified of algebra years later after taking it. I got to tell you, it doesn't get more fun as you get older, guys. But at least when I was doing it, if you got the answer right, you had the answer. You had to show a little work, but however you came to it, it was great. In fact, sometimes teachers would take a creative way of solving an algebra problem and highlight that one and say, I didn't even think of this one, and then we'd all try to work it out that way. That's the way it used to be, and now apparently it's cookie cutter, trying to make sure that everything fits into a box. Alphonsine, you and Gate, your son, I know that you said that there are some issues of behavior that can come out of dealing with Common Core. It's so frustrating that it causes some emotional reaction. Tell us about that.
Aside from the emotional reaction, as Lois said, the self-esteem issue is what I'm most concerned with. I had a really super well-adjusted first grader going into second grade, and by the middle of second grade, he was demoralized. He would cry every day before school. He would cry every night going to bed because he didn't want to go to school. He didn't understand the material, and it was too fast-paced for him, but he wasn't failing enough to get any sort of RTI or AIS, which would be intervention services. And we had to invest thousands of dollars in therapies. And when your son at 7, all he can put together is this. It says, "I do not feel good. I feel terrible. What I feel is crabby, grumpy, wimpy. I want to be left alone." That's at age 7.
Wow. Gabriel, big thumbs down for Common Core from you, huh? Do not like it at all. All right. Well, one question I want to ask all of you, if anyone wants to offer it up before we got to go back down to Dallas how would you recommend that other parents get involved? What's the step? What would you say is the best thing? Michael, I'm going to come to you on this. I'm actually going to pick you out of the crowd. What do you think? How do parents get involved?
Get educated. Go to Stop Common Core in New York State if you're in New York State, or find a group locally that can help you come up to speed, learn everything you can, get empowered, educated, network with other people, get to know your local officials, and take steps.
Refuse a test.
Exactly.
Ways to opt out, huh? Speak
Absolutely.
up. Speak up to your teachers, speak up to your principals, and take action yourselves.
The teachers are just as in a bad point as the kids are.
I'll tell you guys, the best stuff that I've learned for the most part was stuff I taught myself later, but that comes with conservatism. We'll talk about that another time. It's parents and students like these who are going to make a real difference in the fight against Common Core. People who refuse to conform. It's now time to send it back to Glenn in Dallas. Glenn?
Thank you very much, Buck. It's good.